Hey guys, welcome back to BrickSide Chat number 29. We don't have a whole lot of questions today, but I feel a couple of these questions contain some very useful information to everyone. So let's just jump right into it. David Hoffer asks, how do you estimate your monthly profit? And a little bit of context from David here. He's invested about 7,000 USD into his store so far, and he's seen about 2,000 USD return. And he's wondering how, within the first year to a couple years, how he can even think about having profits for himself. And I think the best way to answer this question depends on how you plan to run your store. If your store, like ours, is ran in the mentality of most of your profits are being reinvested to grow your store, I don't expect you to see much profits for yourself in that time, because all of your profits you're making from BrickLink are going back into BrickLink so you can grow your piece count, grow your lot count, and expand your store with the idea that you'll be making more profit later because of the expansion. On the flip side of that, however, there is the idea that you could use BrickLink as a side gig and keep your store smaller, don't reinvest as much back into BrickLink, and take a little bit for yourself to make that little bit of extra money on the side. The upside to this would be you are making money for yourself. The downside obviously being your store doesn't grow as big as quickly. This is totally possible and totally plausible as well. Both ways work perfectly. It just depends on how you'd want to run your store. Next question is from Dennis Morris. He seems to be having a little bit of issues with BrickStock, and he's asking if there's any alternatives to it. From what we've seen, we've done a little bit of research. We have not found any alternatives to BrickStock that do the same things that it does. There's a few programs out there that claim to do it, but from what we've found, nothing does. My best recommendation to you would be to reach out to BrickStock and see if this is an issue with multiple users or something that you or alone are having, and maybe they can help you figure out a fix for that as well. Manny's83 asks, how do you determine which sets to buy and where do you buy them from? We get this question a lot. How do you determine what to buy? And our answer is usually we look at them and look at their part out value. So if their part out value is greater than 3 times the price that we're buying them for, that's usually a set we'll look at buying. There's possibility that we can stoop a little lower to about 2.8, but most of the time we're looking for a 3 times part out value. Now, a good question he also asks is, where do you buy them from? And this is a question for a lot of people, and it varies depending on the state and the country. So for us personally, we buy a lot of our sets from Walmart, because that seems to be the best place for us to find clearance sets of LEGO. They usually have some good prices and usually hit our 3 times values. Every once in a while we'll find some better things, like recently we got the Legoland duffel bags and even the Legoland Pick-a-Brick new pieces. So every once in a while you just got to kind of pay attention to what's going on in the community of LEGO and what's going on in your local area to find the best deals for you and get that above that 3 times part out value. Next, Shipyard Bricks asks, how are prices made on BrickLink for new pieces? And this is a really good question. It did take us a little bit of research to find us, because we were curious on this one as well. When a new piece is added to BrickLink, the price is determined by the first person that lists that item. So the first person to add that item to their store determines the price. Most of the time, the first person listing will do a lot of research as well into similar parts and see what kind of similar parts and similar pieces are selling for, so they can get it at a good price so that it will sell in their store. If you are thinking about listing a new piece that doesn't have a price yet, make sure you do the research around what bricks are similar to it and what other pieces that can relate to it that are selling for a similar price, so you're not overpricing a piece too high just because you have the only one. And finally, our last question is from Kevin H., and he asks, what is LUGBULK? And this is a really good question. A lot of people don't fully understand what LUGBULK or even LEGO User Group itself is. LEGO User Group, or LUG, is a group of people that are officially a group by LEGO. So a couple of the requirements for this are you have to have at least 20 members, and you have to be active for at least a year, and participate or host at least 3 LEGO community events. Now, the different stipulations on this are all down to LEGO as well. I think they have a website for that. I think I'll leave it in the description down below. All of that makes it so you can sign up as a LUG group or a LEGO user group. And this gets you special privileges with LEGO. After you've formed a LUG, or LEGO user group, you can then assign a LUG ambassador. And this is the person within your group that is the ambassador to LEGO. This is the person that has all of the communication with LEGO and all of the kind of rules that have been given by LEGO of what you can do as a LUG. Specifically, LUGBULK is one of the perks of having a LEGO user group. Every once in a while, every year, LEGO will release a website that these LEGO user groups can use to order parts in bulk. The LEGO user group ambassador will get all of his orders from all of his other people in his LEGO user group and submit that on a special website to LEGO. And LEGO will then process that order and ship it out relatively quickly. Sometimes it can take a little bit, sometimes it can't. I think one of the biggest complaints that people have with LUGBULK is sometimes you don't really know what's happening with your parts, but it is a lot of parts to process and a lot of things to do, so sometimes it can be understandable that LEGO does take a little bit of time with this. It does sound great getting a ton of bulk of LEGO. The idea of a LUGBULK, though, is that you are getting a lot of parts from LEGO at a discount to build public pieces that basically promote LEGO. Now, you cannot sell any of these pieces from LUGBULK. It's not designed for selling, reselling on BrickLink, or anything of that sort. So it's not in any way a good way to get a lot of pieces for BrickLink. In fact, I think that would probably get you in quite a lot of trouble. So I would avoid that at all costs. But I do recommend looking around your area, seeing if there's any LEGO user groups or any groups that you can join, or even any community events that you can go to and either show off your work or join one of these groups so you can be a part of the LEGO community more. Speaking of community, we like having a community here as well. We have a Discord down. A lot of questions get answered there as well as a Patreon. And Patreon, you can see any of our behind the scenes stuff. So that's all we have today for BrickSide Chat number 29. I know it was a little bit of a shorter one, but hopefully some of this information is super useful to everyone out there. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment if you have any other questions for the next BrickSide Chat, and we'll see you next time.